Let us now take a look how we can modify and customize the text box according to our imagination. What we have to do is we have to go back to our app dashboard and we have to select the text box we want to modify. So we have to click on the edit button. Now the text box will open up and here we will find text field settings. Here we can start doing our changes. So by default the file size is set to multi-line, but we can also set it to a single line text field. So we can also decide if it should be resizable or not. So then this icon will disappear or it will show. But by default, in my case, it's fine if we have a multi-line text box. Now we can start changing the text field heading according to our imagination. For example, we can enter here, enter your text here, double point. We can write everything we want to write. We can also make a line break and we can write instruction double point 1, enter a text and so on. We can do everything we like, but in my case I like if everything is clean in one line, so it's not too much. And then we can move on. We can also change the placeholder text here. For example, enter a text here. You will also see it in the preview how it will look like, and then we can move on. We can also change the general font size. You will see it will also get larger or smaller. You can also define the placeholder font size, also larger and smaller. You can also make the corners a little bit more round, for example like that. And then we come to another interesting point. You can decide which input should be allowed. Anything, or just text and numbers, or only text, only numbers, or maybe an email validation. So in my case, everything is fine if we allow all inputs. We can go further, we can decide which font style we want to allow. I always like to select the store font, so then it will match according to my product page. Now we can go further, we can decide the field width. So it depends. Sometimes, most times auto is fine, the auto size, but if you want, you can also set it to full size, then it will use the whole space which is available. So in my case, I prefer to use the auto settings, and then we can move on with the color styling. Label color is the color which is shown here. Let us now change everything to a nice blue color, for example this one. And I always like to copy this color code, then it's easier to move on. Border color, text color as soon as someone will enter something. The placeholder, which is here, can be, for in my case, also very blue. Text box background color, it's good that it is white, because otherwise, I will show it to you, it's a little bit too intense. Then we have to change also placeholder text color, so this would also work. But I think that's a little bit too much color, so let's say we want to keep it white and want to make the placeholder also in the blue color. And the tooltip, if there is one, we can also set it to blue. Now we can move on. We can say we want to enforce a maximum length. For example, we can say maybe on my bracelet there just 10 characters will fit, so I will just write 10, and then when people will start entering something here, you will see just 10 10 icons, 10 characters can be added here. So that's important if you want to limit it, but in my case I don't need it, so I will just turn it off. Right, I have now turned it off again. We can also decide to make the text field required. You see there is a small tick now. And you can also decide here the error message which will be shown on the product page. For example, please enter a text before adding to cart. That can be the error message, but in my case it's also fine if it's not required. We can also allow a price add-on. That's also nice. As soon as someone will start entering text, you can say, for example, there should be an additional charge. So you can, for example, just say here add-on price 10 euros, for example. I can click save, and then you will see the price add-on is added, and as soon as someone will start entering text here, then this will be charged on the storefront as well. But in my case, I also don't need it. We can also say here now, activate right to left. We can also allow a tooltip, so you can enter text here and in tooltip it will be shown, and also translation. So if you use, for example, a translation or a multi-language store, like you have default language English and then you want to translate it to French or German, then you can add here for each of these labels an additional translation, and you can then just select, okay, to which language you want to translate these labels. But in my case, I also don't need it, so I will turn it off again. And yes, that's it. We can save it. Successfully saved. We can go back to the storefront, refresh it. We will see now that the text field is styled according to my imagination.